Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today for the Jonas Club Software webinar, online class scheduling, the new product demo. I just want to go through a bit of housekeeping before we get started here. As you all are probably aware, you're all on mute for today's session. We're going to keep everyone on mute, and if you would like to, you can ask questions through the GoToWebinar questions dialog box in your control panel. We'll be keeping an eye on that, and we'll be taking questions at the end. So please let us know if you have any issues or if there's something more you'd like to know about the product in there. Today's session is also being recorded, so we're going to distribute the recording to all those who attended as well as those who may be registered and couldn't attend, just so that you have this to share with maybe colleagues or if you need to go back and reference something that we've talked about today. All right, so today we are going to start by just kind of taking a look at Jonas Club software. We distributed this webinar to our clients as well as those who maybe aren't a Jonas Club software client. So we just want to make sure that everyone is aware of all the different great things that Jonas Club software does. One of the things that we're always surprised about when we go out to trade shows is that a lot of current clients aren't even aware of some of the things that we can do for them. So Jonas is comprised of multiple brands, and you'll see here that we actually have kind of three different types of companies. We have our back office softwares, we have our website products, Clubhouse Online, Members First, as well as we have some value-added companies. And these are the types of things like outsourced payroll by ClubPay, as well as a club concierge service, private club network. We do some great analytics and KPI reporting through Metrics First, as well as some survey tools for getting member feedback through Member Insight. And if you take all of these different companies and all of the implementations of these softwares, we have about 5,000 implementations globally. Jonas is actually in multiple countries, and we have about a 54% market share of the private club industry. One of the great things that we take a lot of pride in is that the very first client that Jonas Club software installed is still a client today. And we have about a 99% controllable retention rate. Every year, Jonas is installing more systems than all of our competitors. So we're doing well. We really appreciate the partners that we create each year, and we take pride in continually trying to offer new products to serve the multiple parts of the club that are getting added year over year. So this is a really great illustration of all the different places within the club or the businesses within a club that we have solutions for, whether that be your kind of traditional golf course, or maybe it's a tennis club. We also have things to serve the fitness facilities that have become more and more common at private clubs, as well as some clubs maybe have added spas. The other thing is we've added ways for the members to interact with these different areas at the club through our mobile app and websites, and whether that's registering for events, maybe making a dining reservation or booking a tea time. Today specifically, we're going to talk about how members can book class scheduling opportunities at the club. So for today's demo, I've been lucky enough to have my good friend and colleague, Robert Lamanna, join me. He is the product manager with Clubhouse Online and Jonas Activity Management. So Rob, if you want to say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody, or morning, depending on where you are.
And I am Trevor Kluk. I'm the Senior Marketing Associate for Jonas Club Software, and I work on all of those brands that you saw in that initial wheel. So first, I just want to kind of take a look at class scheduling from its inception. Class scheduling is actually a back office module that was added into Jonas Activity Management in 2007. And it was implemented because there had been a growing need for something to help clubs address a growing interest in, I believe, fitness classes and other different types of classes like golf clinics, tennis clinics. Rob, can you maybe comment? I know you were here in 2007. When JAM added class scheduling, what were some of the reasons behind that?
We were seeing a transition from clubs from being mostly a golf operation, appealing to one or fewer members of the family, and trying to become more family oriented, offering things that appeal to spouses and children, as well as golfers. So expanding their offering to things like fitness was becoming more popular. So we saw expansion of things like yoga classes, Zumba, other fitness, spinning. So there was an opportunity to service a need that wasn't previously addressed by introducing something through which they could schedule classes, take registrations, and then inevitably bill people for those registrations after the class was held.
Right. So I guess one of the key differences between maybe a class scheduling application and say a single event application is the idea that you can have recurrences, so you're not necessarily having to sign up for multiple events each week. You can actually just sign up maybe once and add a member to, say, an 8-week program.
Correct.
Okay. And an additional thing that we've discussed is the ability to, assign an instructor as well as have a commission tracking function. So once class scheduling was implemented, the next logical step was to add an ability for members to go online and book a class for themselves or sign up for a course. And this could be something for maybe a golf or tennis clinic. But as Rob mentioned, what we are seeing is that more and more clubs are looking for solutions that go beyond just the traditional golf and tennis. So whether that's a fitness class like yoga, maybe your class, or maybe your club has added a spinning class in the gym. These are the types of things that we kept getting asked about. And when I take a look at clubs that I've worked with, a lot of these clubs are offering kind of more unique things these days, whether it be a speaker series. Clubs are helping their members maybe learn a little bit about social media or how they can use the club website better, and they're setting up computer classes. And maybe even some chefs at your club are offering cooking classes for interested people. Now, these are types of things that you can get creative with. And in the last year, we've obviously experienced some really unique circumstances. COVID has brought about, new demands or new ways that class scheduling could be potentially used. So, if you have maybe you had a pool this summer, and you're using it in a different way that requires you to have scheduled times for pool access, and maybe that required cleaning in between different pool times, you could maybe set up class scheduling in a way to allow people to book a time at the pool. Similarly, at the gym, if your gym is only going to be open during certain hours, maybe limited, you're going to have to give members the opportunity to reserve or book a time that they can come in and use the gym, and then maybe create some kind of space in between those for cleaning or any other extra things that you need to do based on your new COVID protocols. So class scheduling can be used, again, for the traditional golf, tennis application. It can be used for different types of fitness classes, as well as some unique ways that we've seen classes being applied this summer in these unfortunate circumstances. Now, I think the best thing to do is to let Rob kind of show us how that back office and member-facing application work together, and how you guys can maybe start using the online features. So I'm just going to hand control over to Rob here.
Okay, Trevor, can you see my screen?
I can, yep.
Okay, so what we're looking at right now is the class scheduling module in its calendar view. So what we'll do is you build all the classes in the back office, set them up as you see fit, how many people can attend, what type of class they are, who's instructing it, what room it's taking place, all of that stuff. And then we'll bring that information up to the web when a member hits the calendar to view it. So on this particular instance of the calendar, I'm looking at all of my possible classes that are taking place on any day within this month. We also offer filtered versions of it where you can say, I only want to put a page that has pool reservations, or I don't want a page that has yoga reservations, or perhaps any of the various activity types you set up. You can set up pre-filtered pages. So if you have a lot of classes, you need not worry about having a very busy calendar that starts bleeding off the day, because we'll only show 4 or 5 classes on a given calendar, and then there'll be a more option which will allow you to see the remainder of them. So you can silo these activity types on separate pages, so they make more sense inside of the navigation in terms of a member wanting to find a particular class, and then they also make sense in terms of the page so that I'm not having to look through a lot of detail. Now, on a given calendar, members can filter it by any of these criteria: time of day, class level, the activity type itself, if it's a course or not, where it's taking place, who's teaching it, and if there are any gender restrictions. But you can make that a little simpler. So if we look under my play navigation here, I put a page called pool reservations. So when I click on that, it's going to launch the same module with all of the same functionality. The difference being, or not, let's look at gym reservations instead. So instead of me looking at all the classes, in this case, I'm only going to look at those that are related to gym reservations, which should come up starting immediately, and yet they're not showing for me. This is working out well. Let's try yoga classes, because I've set all these pages up to accommodate this. So if I go to yoga classes, it should show me all of my yoga classes that are upcoming in October, as well as those in the past. And you can see them all here. There's expert Anusara yoga, beginner Bikram yoga, intermediate Anusara yoga, different days of the week, different recurrences. So as a member, I don't have to scroll through as much clutter, and I can see exactly what I'm looking for, just yoga. So if I were to click on one of these classes, let's say the 20th of October at 8 a.m., it's going to bring me to the class details. I can see some more information, any dates that are unavailable and upcoming, any dates that are available and upcoming, as well as any information that you opt to display. So instructor, location, if there's a price associated, which in this case there is not. And in addition to that, if there were people already registered, there'd be an other attendees section, which would show who'd already registered. So if they're looking to see if their friends have registered, they can check that out. Now, that option is configurable by you. So when you set up the class, you can say whether or not it's going to show the attendees at all. As a member, this is just a class. So as Trevor mentioned, we kind of have a distinction within classes where you can set up what is known as a class, which is a drop-in registration. I sign up for a particular instance or instances, or course registration, which when you set up the class, you can allow for either or both. And in the course scenario, it's a single registration for the entirety of the offering. So let's say it's a 12-session course where the information being provided is sort of builds on each session, and it's important to take them all in that whole series. Then you could have the option to register for a course, which I'll show you in a minute. But before we do that, if I want to register for a given class as Roger Smith, when I click on that button, it's going to add me, and it's going to select the Tuesday, October 20th date. That said, I can register for any or all of the upcoming instances of this class as well. So if I say, you know what, I only want to go on Tuesdays, because that's the only time I'm available at 8 a.m., then I can select the 2 upcoming Tuesdays and register for that. In addition, I can add other members. So if I know that my wife, Joyce Smith, also wants to join me for this, I can add her to my registration and then complete it. If there was a cost associated with this, it would summarize that cost at top with the price for the 2 people. And like I said, when I complete it, that registration is going to be completed in the back office, and those people will be added to the class list. As Roger Smith, because I've created this booking, that booking will now be available for me in my booking screen. So just like any other bookings I have, tea times, dining, event registrations, court bookings, the whole gamut of them, my class registrations will show up in there as well. And you'll see the Tuesday, October 20th, Anusara Yoga. I can cancel it because I made it. And then if we look further into the future, on the 27th, there's also that registration. So because I was registering for a class and I registered for multiple instances, they appear as separate registrations, despite the fact that I made them all in one fell swoop. Okay, so now that we've seen the class scenario where I can register for multiple instances in one fell swoop, let's take a look at the course scenario. So if I go back to my class schedule and I go to, and we're in yoga, let's go back to that full class calendar. If I go back to my full class calendar, And let's change this filter to say all. If I look on November 2nd, I have a karate course at 4 p.m., a junior karate course. This is a course. What that means is if I wanted to register, I could register for it all in one move. So these are all the dates that I'd be registering for, but it's going to go down as one registration, not many. So if I wanted to cancel it, I could do so. Now, this is a junior karate course, so Roger Smith, who's not between the ages of 9 and 15, cannot attend it. If, however, I had a child that was within the age restriction, I could register on their behalf. Oh, he's too old too. In any case, if I were to make it successfully for this junior karate course, it would show up as one registration in my bookings, which I could cancel as one fell swoop. And again, when you're offering these, when you're offering a course, you can also offer what we call single registration. So if there remains space, the course is not completely sold out once it starts, and people are able to attend individual sessions, they'll see two buttons here instead of just the one that says register class and another that says register course, each of which can be subject to a different point of sale item upon registration. So the course can be for the full slate of classes, and the class can just be for one instance. You can set up separate prices if you are in fact charging for them. But we do support either model depending on what you're offering. Now, for those of you that are familiar with class scheduling, let me show you what the difference is from a back office configuration. So the process does not change materially in terms of setup. You're still going to set up the class the same way, and we'll look at this gym reservations, for example, to see how it works. So in here, you're still setting up the name of the class, you're setting up its level, you're specifying where it's taking place, and in addition to that, you're saying who the instructor is going to be. What is new are these three config options down at the bottom right. So within these, you're going to have the ability to say whether or not you want to show attendees, number one. Number two, whether or not you want to establish a window during which they can register. So in this case, from 7 days prior to that class, people can start registering. If I were to leave it at 0, which is the default, that means that people can start registering as far in advance as they'd like. There's no limit to advanced registration. If you wanted to register 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance, completely possible. It's all up to you as to what kind of registration policy you want to enforce. The last thing is hide from online class. So if there's something that you don't necessarily want to make available to online registration, then you can check that box. What that means is people will not be able to see the class in the calendar, and they won't be able to see any registrations they might have had for that class in their MyBook. So there'll be no communication between class scheduling and your website to indicate that class exists at all. But that is pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, there's not a lot of complexity to this module. You build your classes as you would normally do, and those classes will go up to the web and be made available through the calendar, as well as the other two views that we also offer. So a lot of times people don't delve too deep when they're using it, and they just see that there's a calendar and they start looking for it. But there are some other views. There's a week view where you can see by day of week, a week at a time, what classes are upcoming. If you ever see this little green check mark, it just means you're registered for that class. And then you can also view it as a list, which is the way it looks on mobile. So if you were to go to a mobile page and look at this, we would not show the calendar because there's no way we could show enough detail on a calendar cell on a mobile device. But you will always get the list available to you to see all the classes. And the list, much like the calendar, is subject to the same filtering option. So if you were to go in and say you only wanted to see yoga classes, for instance, then that list would automatically be filtered just to show those upcoming yoga classes in the month of November. And again, you can navigate back to the previous month to see the classes that were offered then.
And Rob, if you had a page that was dedicated to yoga, or maybe to your fitness, your personal trainer, or someone like that, could they embed this specific list or this calendar into that section?
Absolutely. So that's what I've done. So what I'll do is I'll bring up the window, the sort of administrative window in which you can do that. Bear with me 1 second. And I'll show you how that is achieved.
Because one thing that I think you and I have probably noticed over the years is that a lot of clubs have the ability to to segment their calendar and maybe embed that calendar view on different sections within their site. But oftentimes everything is just put in one calendar, making it a little bit more difficult for those members to find what they're looking for.
Absolutely, and this is actually easier than that. So let me show you, I'll give you some examples. So if we go into my pages, so this is where you're adding all the content to your site, determining where it's going to be located. You have the ability to add a page type called a generic class page. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to add it under play, and let's just do fitness. So I can say I want a new page of type generic class. So when I click on that, it's going to bring me to this form. So what's the document going to be called? We'll call it fitness classes. And then which class types do I want to include on that page? So these are all of the class types that that I have in my system. You would see all the ones that were in your system, and you could handpick which ones you wanted to include. So you could select, a single one, multiple. So if you wanted to include personal training in there and yoga as well, you could do that. And then you would give the module a label. So what this module label is referring to is what you see in this tab here. See where it reads class scheduling?
Yep.
If I go to that yoga page, like I was on before, you'll notice the module label reads yoga classes. So that's what you're setting up there. So obviously, if I want it to be fitness classes, I want it to read fitness classes. And then what the default search text is going to read within that search bar, so search class name, that's fine. Register class, register course. If I want to get rid of this class button and just have it say register and then register course if it's a course, then I can have that option. So I'm going to save it. That page will be added under the play navigation option. So this may take, there is some caching, so it may take a couple minutes, or I may have to launch a new incognito window to do it. But within a couple minutes, there should be a page here that says fitness classes. Again, it's right. Like I said, there's some caching, so it may take a little bit to clear, but that's how you add a specific page for specific classes. Right. The alternative is when the module gets added, automatically you're going to get this class scheduling page that I have here, which again, where it's located in the tree is not so important, because as with any page, you can put a redirect page to it anywhere in the navigation. So similar to what we did with generic class, we put it right into the navigation. It's going to show up in the location that you've placed it, but you can put redirects from other places. So for instance, under Member Central, you'll see that there is a class schedule link here, or page, and all that's doing is just redirecting to that class scheduling page I highlighted a moment ago. It's called the URL redirection. We do it all over the place on sites. If it's done, you'll see this little arrow to the right. So multiple options. You can organize your classes as you see fit, put them into the navigation location you would like using that generic class, or if you want to have multiple locations pointing to that all-encompassing calendar, you can always add a menu redirect and have that item show and point to somewhere else on the site. Seamless to the end user, they'll never notice it. They'll end up at the appropriate destination.
Now, is there anything else in the back office jam module that you want to show before we kind of turn it over to questions? I know we've got a lot coming through here.
Yeah, there's really just one more thing I'll show that's on the web. As with any module, you have the ability to filter the statuses of dues classes you don't want to appear in the module. So if a member goes in and tries to add someone, you can hide, anybody who have this in deceased, delinquent, inactive. All of those statuses can be hidden from lookup so that people can't add those people to classes.
Right.
But beyond that, not really much else to show. It's pretty simple stuff.
All right. Well, thanks for taking us through it. I think we have a lot of people are asking some questions here that you probably will be able to answer. Just taking a look. The first one, I think this one is pretty straightforward. Is this available for Jonas Encore users? Does it still work in the same way?
Yes, I think I answered that user in the chat earlier. I can't expand my chat window, so I can't read these. I don't know what's going on.
Somebody else might have.
Pull it out. It's like it's shrunken down. I can barely scroll through it. Look, I want you guys to see what I'm dealing with here. This is what it looks like to me. Let me go full screen. Okay, so it doesn't work for Encore. Yes. Does it work exactly the same way? Yes. Between Jonas Activity Management and Encore, the booking modules are identical. They function in relation to Clubhouse Online, our website, identically. So Nothing to be concerned about for an Encore club versus a Jam club.
Okay. Can non-members register? Is there a way that you can have guests register for a class?
Not through the website at present. It's members and buddies only. But through the back office, you can add guest registrations to the booking.
Okay. Is there a way to show how many are registered by number? So let's say the class has 20 people and it's a limit of 30. Is there a way to see if the class is getting close to full?
Yeah, so as you can see here in the list, it's showing what the current registration of total is.
Okay.
So 2 of 15, 0 of 24. It also does support wait lists, so you can set a wait list on it and what the limit is in that wait list, and those people will be added to the wait list when the class is full. It'll indicate as much to them.
Okay. I had another good one here. If you book on behalf of your spouse, will this show up in your spouse's My Bookings page if they log into the website?
Yes. So the only thing is if, for instance, in that case where I booked Roger Smith and his wife Joyce, Joyce cannot cancel it. Only Roger can cancel it as he is the owner of that registration.
I see. What would happen
in there?
Yeah, I understand. What would happen in the event that the club needed to cancel a class? Is there a way that this notifies the registrants that the class has been canceled?
Absolutely. So through class scheduling setup, you have the ability to set up notifications and when they're going to be sent out. So, new class, if they get on the wait list, if they edit the booking or they cancel the class, the notifications can be sent out. You can design we'll design the form based on your liking. And then what you can do once a class has been built, it has all of its recurrences through class scheduling. You can see all the classes on a given date. Let's look at tomorrow for let's find that has a person registered. So we look at adult tennis clinic. I can go in and use this exceptions option. And if I want to cancel the class, it's going to send all of the registrants a notification that they've been canceled. The class has been canceled. So you don't have to cancel the entire series. If I look at the following week, October 21st, there's still adult tennis clinic. So I'm really just creating an exception for that one particular occurrence of that class, and then all the rest of them are left alone. Similarly, this is what you would use if you had to modify who's teaching it, where it's taking place. That can all be done through this exceptions tab, where you can modify the instructor or the location if it had to change due to illness or due to the facility being used for something else. You can accept an individual occurrence and everything else gets left as it is in the remainder of the series.
And there's a way to notify the patients of the, or sorry, not the patients, the registrants of that change.
Correct.
Maybe
that's where the notifications for edit and cancel will come out from. Yeah.
Great. I think we've had the same kind of question multiple times, and that's how would a pool reservation or a gym hourly reservation work different from, say, a class? If we were trying to, how would that look, per se, on the calendar?
Not materially different. So I was trying to show the gym reservations earlier. I opened the wrong window. It's 1 second. Let's see if it's now working. If not, I'll just filter my calendar to show them. Something funky going on there. I'll show you my setup in the back office just so you get a feel for it. So what I would recommend and what I've seen people do is that you want to have periodic times during the day when you can clean. So for instance, my first registration is an hour. It starts at 7 and ends at 8. Then it begins at 8:30 and ends at 9:30. Then it goes from 10:30 to 11:30. So probably should have been 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. You just want to leave a little bit of a gap. Or what I've seen clubs do is do like a morning 8, 9, 10, or 8, 9, 10, 11. Then between 11 and 12, they're cleaning, or 11:30 and 12, they're cleaning, and then they restart that process again, and then they take registrations. It doesn't really work any different than it would for a class. The only differences are you're not going to put in an instructor, so you may want to create a dummy one like I did, NA, first name, last name. because you don't need anybody to instruct it. Or if you're just whomever's working the desk, you want to put their name in there, you can do that. But it's not really an instructive course, so it really doesn't mean anything. But other than that, it's just setting up your max number of attendees for that gym reservations or pool reservations or what have you. But you're really looking to collect the data of who's coming in, so that you can check it when they arrive. Are they supposed to be here? Were they here at this time? So on and so forth. So not materially different. It's really just the nice thing about it versus doing it, say, in your event calendar, is you're A, not cluttering your event calendar, and B, you can set up a separate calendar strictly for gym reservations that will load on a separate page when they go directly to it.
Okay, so that's the main benefit of not putting it all onto the event calendar.
Correct. You're just trying to streamline the user experience so that they're not trying to, I've seen clubs that have 50 plus events a day. It's a lot of work for a member to click on show more, scroll through that entire list, or go to the list view and scroll through that entire list, because there's so much density of things going on, which is great. You have a lot to offer. It's just difficult for a member to see the forest for the trees when there's 50 something events on a given day.
Okay. I guess another one here that it's going to come in a few different times. Could you just maybe talk about how this works with payroll and the instructor? Is there integration between those two modules, or is it something that the club has to run a report on?
Yeah, there's no payroll integration. There is a commission report that can be pushed out, and then from there you would pay your employees accordingly. You could also run it for them so they could cross-check to make sure that they're getting all the appropriate commissions. But yeah, it's a report that would be taken out and then handled from there manually, as opposed to integrated through payroll.
Okay. Okay, this one is one, I think the last one we'll have time for today, and it's a good one, I think. Is there a way to set up restrictions for consecutive number of days at the pool or consecutive number of hours at the gym, so that people aren't booking in and then not showing up or taking multiple days?
No, that's not something that's available today in terms of rules to limit attendance. It's pretty much a free-for-all. They can attend as many classes as they want, subject to the costs associated with them, or in the case they're not. There's nothing really limiting number of attendances or consecutive or anything to that effect today.
Right. Okay. All right. There are other questions that people have asked. I really appreciate everyone taking the interest. We will be reaching out to the people who asked a question directly and try to help them in any way they can. I'm now going to just take back control here. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, this is being recorded. I will be distributing this so you can watch it again. And if you have any questions about the webinar, you can definitely reply to that email and I will receive it. I will do my best to answer directly to you, or I'll probably get you in touch with either Rob or somebody else, maybe your representative, that can reach out and maybe give you a detailed demo themselves, or talk to you about any type of pricing and cost associated with this module. But I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. We don't get to see each other really at all this year in person, so these webinars are a great opportunity to share what we've got going on at Jonas Club Software. So everybody have a great day and be safe. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.